Ahoy there, mateys! I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome aboard Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Today, we're going back to the Swan Princess franchise. Now, it's been 2 years since I blogged the 5th movie, The Swan Princess, A Royal Family Tale. And I still stand by when I said that I really loved it. Sure, this film did have a few flaws in it, like sometimes with a little bit of the CGI animation and the musical numbers being a bit rushed, but what did it for me was the introduction to Odette's adopted daughter Alise, who I said before should have been added to the franchise a long time ago, and a villain who's been built up throughout the whole franchise. Anyway, over the past several months since I blogged this film, I noticed that it became one of the most popular blogs I ever made. But at the same time, I've been noticing that several folks have been bad-mouthing the movie and pressing the dislike button. So, in order to defend it, I included this movie on my top 13 bad films that I like list last year. Now, you may remember that during that countdown, when I did say, hopefully someday, if there's another movie after this, they could give more speaking lines for Alise. And thankfully, just several months ago, before my leg was reoperated, my prayers have been answered when I discovered that a new movie was in development, which made me crazy with excitement. And I feel that now is the moment for me to blog it for all ya. So, without further ado, released a DVD on September 6th, 2016. The movie is The Swan Princess, Princess Tomorrow, Pirate Today. So, let's get her started, me lads. With her parents away for the summer, young Princess Alise must spend time with her grandmother, Queen Uberta, training to be a perfect, proper royal. But what Alise really wants is to be a swashbuckling pirate. Alise sets sail with Lord Rogers, Jean-Bob, and Speed on a bold high seas journey filled with amazing adventure, danger, and discovery. After a shipwreck leaves the brave crew stranded on a wild, mysterious island, they meet a young boy named Lucas who has been living in seclusion. Now the faithful friends must work together to escape the island and the hungry creatures that dwell there. So, I know what you guys are thinking. This film's gonna suck, right? Well, no. Not really. This movie was absolutely fun. Not perfect, mind you, but still a good movie to me. But before I get ahead of myself on why I love this film, let's move on to Mustang notes. The director of the film is once again Richard Rich, who directed such classic films like The Fox and the Hound, The Black Cauldron, as well as directing The Scarecrow and the animated King and I film. To me, he does a great job directing these Swan Princess films, considering the fact that he is an ex-Disney animator. The studio that produced the animation in this film is, once again, Crest Animation. However, this time they've had some help from Streetlight Productions. Now, in my opinion, the CGI is getting better. However, there are some things they still need work on. For example, the oceans during the storm look a tad blobby, and the alligators at the beginning look a tad dopey. But those things aside, the animation looks still great. Now, the story is still good to me, but a little predictable at times. It's like a mix of Brave, Treasure Island, as well as a certain Reader Rabbit CD-ROM game I used to play when I was little. Still, this movie is a lot of fun. There are a few scenes in this movie that were pretty interesting, like the cooking show parody where Lord Rogers teaches the Boggs to cook, which I find pretty funny. And there was a scene where the Scullions were attacked by a giant squid. To me, that was pretty similar, but not as intense as the Kraken scene from Pirates of the Caribbean 2. Now, since this is a Swan Princess movie, that also means it's a musical. Well, kinda. And thank goodness the songs are not rushed like last time. The two most interesting songs, in my opinion, well, are the title song, A Pirate Today, sung by Alise, which I find is a really wonderful and adventurous song, and I'm happy that Alise got a chance to sing in this, unlike the last time. And the second song is I'll Be Your Star, sung during the end credits by Macy Kate, which explains that someone you care for will always stand by your side no matter where you are. Anyway, now that we're done with Mustang notes, let's move on to the characters and their voice actors. Our main character, Princess Alise, is voiced by Jaden Isabel. Now, I love Alise. If you recall in the last film, she was mostly silent due to the fact that the Forbidden Arts destroyed her house and killed her biological father. In this movie, not only is she speaking more often, but I love the fact that she's fun-loving and has an adventurous side to her. However, like most princesses in the media, she wants to be a modern princess instead of a traditional princess. Even though we've seen that many times, Alise pulls it off perfectly. Next are Alise's adoptive parents, Odette and Derek, voiced by Laura Bailey and Yuri Lowenthal. Unlike the last Swan Princess films, Odette and Derek are barely in this movie, but they still make wonderful parents for Alise. And I like the fact that they're keeping the age of goodness going by helping people build a new bridge across the canyon. Alise's grandma, Queen Uberta, is voiced by Jennifer Miller. In my opinion, she's intense, but sometimes awesome. However, in this movie, mostly she can be pretty strict, while putting Alise through princess boot camp, teaching her etiquette, curtsies, drinking tea, postures, vowel pronunciation, and other stuff that can bore Alise to sleep. Next we have Lord Rogers, voiced by Joseph Medrano, who is in a not very well-known film called Decisions. To me, Rogers is a great character when he puts Alise through sailor boot camp. He teaches her about the ropes when it comes to sailing, the stars that can help sailors navigate, and knots to prevent you from becoming a castaway. He even tells Alise about the North Star, which is said to be constant, never moving like a parent's love. Next up is Puffin, voiced by Gardner Jass. His role is pretty different here due to the fact that Queen Uberta hired him as Secretary of Castle Security, and he makes sure the Scullions do their job at keeping watch. He even leads the Scullions on a mission to find Alise after she runs off. Speaking of which, let's move on to the Scullions and their leader, Brody, voiced by Brian Neeson, who serves as the film's screenwriter. In the last film, these guys thought Odette was evil because of a fake prophecy, but after they realized that they were tricked, they joined forces with Odette and the gang. In this movie, Brody and the Scullions are in charge of keeping Uberta's castle secured by setting up booby traps and using blowguns. My favorite part that these guys are involved with is when they use themselves as sails while they're at sea looking for Alise. Next we have Alise's animal friends, Jean-Bob, voiced by Clayton James, who's still a hilarious but obnoxious frog, and Lorenzo Trudgealong, aka Speed, voiced by Doug Stone, who serves as a great supporting character for Alise throughout this movie. Next we have Scully, also voiced by Joseph Medrano. In the last film, Scully helped Odette rescue Alise, and he sacrificed himself to defeat the Forbidden Arts. In this movie, I didn't expect to see him again as a ghost. What he does in this movie is act as a guide for Alise, similar to Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio or Gremlin Gus from Epic Mickey. Later, nearing the end of the film, he helps the kids and their parents reunite with each other. Now let's move on to the new characters in the movie, starting with Alise's new friend, Lucas, a runaway lad who got raft wrecked on the island, voiced by Grant Durazo, who got to be on Disney's Kirby Buckets TV series. In my opinion, Lucas is a great new character. He's like a mix of Peter Pan and Curdie from The Princess and the Goblin. He's brave, hardworking, and knows how to survive on his own. And he even knows how to avoid the bogs. The most memorable thing he does is teach Alise a special hand language. The reason why Lucas ran away from his parents is because he overheard his parents talking about leaving him at an orphanage, and he thought they didn't love him anymore. But the truth was that his father was so poor and unemployed. Lucas has a song called Standing on My Own. To me, it's a very sad song, especially when we see flashbacks of Lucas and his family together in the water's reflection. These strange creatures are known as the Bogs, carnivorous beasts led by Nums, voiced by Kellen Goff. These guys are not connected to any of the villains from the past Swan Princess films. They're just lizard-like creatures who are very hungry and act like cannibal headhunters. But sometimes they're not very smart and can be a little silly. There's one thing that they do in this movie that's pretty cool in my opinion, which is riding on these leaves that glide through the air, as well as throwing sharp starfishes around like a ninja. They have two songs in this movie. The first one being We Want Meat, which is sung a couple times throughout this film. To me, it reminds me of the Scullion song Get the Job Done from the last film. But later, it becomes funny when Alise sings it, while she tries to rescue Rogers and John Bob. The second song is the Green Thing chant, which is sung while the Bogs worship Jean Bob as a god. And now it's time to move on to my final words. Overall, The Swan Princess, Princess Tomorrow, Pirate Today is an entertaining movie for both kids and grown-ups. The CGI animation is getting better, the story is adventurous, daring, and fun. The characters from Alise, Lucas, Speed, the Scullions, and Lord Rogers are memorable, and most of the songs are simply wonderful. I give this film a rating of 85% out of 100. And a big thank you to Richard Rich and his crew for answering my prayers. But if you think it ends here, think again. Because, while I was researching this movie on Google, I discovered that next year in 2017, a 7th movie will be released. And I just hope it will be just as good as this movie. So, for all you guys watching, be sure to join me again next time. Mustang Power!